Whoa, here we are. I bet you that was a good greeting, right? You never expected that.
Looking mighty fine today, might I just say.
You guys are beautiful. You're amazing. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. Awesome. Seriously, now, what's that? Why is serious? But welcome to Real Talk.
If you haven't been here
If you
before,
haven't been here before,
saddle up
like
because you're going for a
you're
ride.
going for a bumpy ride, folks. No, we appreciate anybody that shows up. Again, tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends' friends, and keep on inviting. I know I've talked about it before, but we are planning here coming up sometime soon. I just got to find some of my stuff. I have keychains and some 3D print offs and that. And we're going to have one of the Saturdays that we're not doing an investigation. We'll have like a fun day, like playing games, give away prizes, give people a chance to buy some of the merch if they want. There's not a whole lot right now, but like the little ghosts with the tombstones, I can custom those any color. If you want a special name, something special to go with it, a special date to be attached, I can do that. So before we get started, Gabriella will be running the show tonight. I know how much you love that. You're probably saying, "Well, it's about time Diane shows up." So that's cool. I can accept that. See, she's already abused me.
Oh, that was
I
hardly.
loves my girl though.
You
She
better.
doesn't abuse me that much.
Only sometimes.
Only sometimes. We I don't know how this show is going to go tonight for one big reason. We are, as you know, how I start out the show with our weather here in good old PA. We're under a tornado watch now. I don't. Hi, Ronan.
Hi, Ronan.
Normally we don't get that type of stuff here. We might get like straight winds or like maybe some microburst or something. Real heavy thunderstorms, but they do have us under a watch. Now they said nothing's supposed to start until like 11 tonight. We'll see. But right now it's muggy. Like for nighttime, it's like 77 degrees. Or I think yet. Is it 77 yet, or am I just retarded? I might be retarded. No, it's 70 degrees right now, and it says it feels like 70. We are supposed to dip down to 44 because tomorrow we're only supposed to be 49. So we got up to almost 80 today, and it's supposed to be 49 tomorrow. So like a 30-degree drop again, and it's only supposed to last for tomorrow and Saturday. Then Sunday we're supposed to get back up around 60. When they say that, we'll get in the 60s. And then Monday and through next week, we're supposed to have up in the high 60s and high 70s again. But we're in our monsoon season now because April showers bring May flowers. Well, next week it looks like every day but one we're calling for rain. So, before we get started, I got to say we've been running across so many topics here lately that Gabrielle and I have, where they're like, we're just blown away by. Now, two people we started watching in particular, that we love watching Casper Site. Now, if you want the paranormal or aliens, UFOs, that type of stuff, he's the man to watch for that type of stuff. But if you want something with the paranormal, but that mystery, crime / twist to it and unexplainable, there's two people. There's a Mr. Ballins, and there's also a gentleman. He has a show called Into the Fog, and with Peter Laws. Watch either one of those, and I'm telling you what, you watch, and the way they talk, they get into their little speech, their little spew about their topic, and at times you can see how much they're really involved in the topic because you can see them tearing up, you can see them getting emotional. And there was a topic on there today that blew us away, and I'll dabble on a little bit, then I'll have Gabriella take over. The topic that we watched today, what would you think if you go into the hospital and you're thinking you're having just an exploratory surgery to check gallbladder,
Yep.
just see if you do have gallbladder problems, and to see, figure out what's going on with you. And when you go into surgery, when you get the anesthesia, the anesthesiologist gives you 2 shots. The first shot paralyzes your body so you can't move, so you're not flinching around and everything when the surgery is going on. The second one is to numb your entire body so that you don't feel anything. What would you think if there you are, you're thinking nothing, you're just a little bit nervous at surgery, you're going to be nervous anyhow. You go into the surgery, they put the mask on your face, they're injecting the shot into the tube so that you will get the, the anesthesia, and they tell you count backwards from 10, and by the time you start counting, you're not going to remember getting to 1. You're not going to make it to 1. You're going to be out. Think about counting back from 10 and you get down to 1, and you can still hear the doctors and nurses and that all around you talking because the anesthesiologist forgot to inject that second shot that numbs you. And there you are. The gentleman had his eyes taped, so he couldn't open his eyes up during the surgery. He could hear them talking. He could hear everything happening around him. And he's trying to alert them, wait a minute, guys, before you start, I'm still awake here. I'm still awake. And so he starts flinching his eyes back and forth really bad underneath the tape. He actually does manage to get the tape to pull up from him moving his eyes back and forth. He literally can see them putting the gloves on, the surgical gloves, getting the scalpel, and getting ready. He's trying to motion with his eyes, but nobody's looking up at his face. They're all focused on the gallbladder area. He can see them with the scalpel cutting him. He starts feeling the pain. Not only does he feel them cutting and is an excruciating pain, they're cutting deeper and deeper and deeper. That's bad enough, but he can feel them grabbing, having the nurse grabbing the suction out all the excess blood and goo and everything all around. And then he can feel them reaching in and pulling the hole wider open and getting the clamps and clamping the clamps down in position so he can go in. He's feeling all of this. Now we're talking about a time lapse of 16 whole minutes. This guy was experiencing that excruciating pain until finally, as he's flickering his eyes, and because he can't move his head, he can't move anything because he had that paralyzed drug in him. One nurse says, "Stop, stop, stop." He's still awake. He's not out. And finally, the anesthesiologist remembered, oh shit, I forgot to put that other drug in. He injects him. The guy goes out. They finish the operation. During this period of time, though, the doctor knew, oh, the shit has hit the fan. We're going to be in trouble because when he wakes up, he's going to remember, and there's going to be a big lawsuit filed against this hospital. So somebody, they don't know if it was the doctor or the...
No, it was the doctor.
Oh, I thought they said they didn't know which one. They said, hey, so we don't get in trouble. There's a third shot that you can inject. And the third shot was... okay, it was like an amnesia type shot. It would cause amnesia that you wouldn't remember anything that happened. So they injected him with that. And when he first came to, he didn't remember anything, but he just felt real depressed. Didn't know why, but he was glad the operation was over and everything. And but then little by little, like even though they gave him that drug, he remembered lights, and he just thought he was dreaming about that, the operating room lights. And then when he went home, he started feeling and remembering what was going on. And 2 weeks later, out of such a state of depression, he unalived himself. And so you can imagine what the next steps was. They looked up and got the original doctors, and I didn't want to release the medical forms. They got another doctor to go in that get the medical forms released. They found out that there was a file up in the operating room during the procedure, and there was charges pressed, and I guess she was awarded some money, but she lost her loving husband, all because of something like that. So
it wasn't a shot either. It was the anesthesiologist forgot to put the freaking anesthesia mask on him.
No, he had the mask on. It was shot. There was 3 shots. Well, there was 2 shots initially. The first shot paralyzed. The second shot was in the IV tube, and it goes in the stream. And that the second one was the numbing, which that's the one he forgot. And then when they realized, when the nurse saw his eyes and knew he was still awake, then they gave him that shot that causes amnesia. So can you imagine that? Like the pain that guy went through, and then to have to be in that state of mind for like 2 weeks after he came out. And just,
well, it was so weird because when he came to and went back home, he sat down and said he was feeling weird and everything. But he told his wife, and unless that was a different story, that might have been a different story.
What was you going to say? And I'll tell if it was the same story or not.
That he was afraid that his parents and everybody was going to bury him alive.
I don't know if that was the same story or not. I'll have to go back and look at the
I think it was. I think she couldn't understand. He was screaming for no reason. And she kept on asking him, like, what was wrong? What was wrong? Do we need to go back to the doctors? What's wrong? And I think he looked at her and he was like, they're going to bury me alive.
I think you're right. I think that was it. I think that was.
He was freaking out and she was like, I don't understand what's happening. And then that's when he went into the full story and said that when the guy sat down, he started to remember everything that happened, except in his memory from the amnesia that the doctor gave him, it messed with his memory a little bit. So instead of him thinking that he was in an operating room, he thought that he was being buried alive because he felt the pain and everything that was going on. He just couldn't understand where it was coming from, and his brain messed with it.
No, he knew what was going on. He saw them.
No, I mean after the
okay.
not the anesthesia, the amnesia.
Yeah, okay.
So anyways, when they gave that to him, his brain messed that whole thing up from remembering the operation to changing it to something else that he would understand better, because when you're given a drug, especially to make you forget something, you're gonna remember what the pain and everything felt like, but your brain isn't gonna comprehend like that actually happened, since you're supposed to forget that anyway. So when he got home, he was telling his wife that he was being buried alive, or he was going to be buried alive by his parents, because she invited them over because he was screaming for no reason. Well, she thought no reason at all. And she's like, well, I don't understand. Like, why would you think that? And the parents knew nothing. Nobody knew what was going on. And the poor guy, he was going through so much pain and this weird feeling that he had of dread. And he just ended it 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So I'm going to see if you start yours. I'm going to see if I can find, do you remember what the episode was called?
I mean, we can go on my my history. Hold on, guys. Intermission. Is that what's intermission? Did I say that right?
Yep, it's intermission. It's just a second. Can doctors be bribed? I don't know exactly what the whole I thought when I heard him that when Mr. Ballins was talking about it, that when it came out that they said they wasn't sure if the doctor or if it was the whole team or the anesthesiast, which one decided, hey, let's do this.
It was the doctor, because he didn't want to get sued. He thought that once he woke up, if he remembered, or that he was going to remember it, so he injected him with the amnesia and thought that everything was going to be fine.
I don't remember.
How do I go to my other channel? Am I stupid?
Well, I can look it up and see if I can find it while you start,
No,
because we're already like 15 minutes in and we don't want them
Oh,
sitting waiting, waiting. Well, I know
Starting camp, watch creatures, writing proof. You can
but if you watch him, he tells like this show here in particular was a compilation, I think, of 5 different stories he had.
Top 5 bingeable scary stories.
That's what I was just looking at, that one there, and I don't know if that was it. I don't know if that was.
Or frightening proof you can live a past life. No.
That wasn't it.
It has to be the top 5 bingeable. Ah, stupid ads. Get out of here.
I don't remember the one with UK.
Blurry lamp.
Because remember the one before that was the one of Aurora. I think it was Aurora was the one before that. But so how's everybody doing tonight while we're trying to look this up here? I'm trying to think. We should right now, because I don't think we have anything planned as of now that I know of. I think we should have a gather and gab this Saturday. If we do, I might have a story for you. And I do have another topic that I ran across that was quite interesting. And the funny thing about it is it ties in with not only one house, but it ties in with like a whole town, more or less, like several houses. Yeah, that was in that property.
So I was right. Sherman found out his family was coming to his house. He told Ruby they can't come inside. He was afraid the others were conspiring to bury him alive. The only person he could be around was Ruby, and its whole family had no idea what to do. Little did they know there was actually a very specific reason he was acting the way he was. And then they go into where he was having severe abdominal pain.
Is that which one is that? Which show is
the one that I said, the 5?
Oh, okay. So I am in that one then.
He had severe abdominal pain, and so his wife and daughter, they went to the hospital, and the doctor was examining him and running some tests determining what the pain was, and that it was coming from his gallbladder. But the only way to be sure was to do some exploratory surgery. And he said, yeah, he would like to figure out, like, whatever. They go forward with the surgery. So on the morning of January 19th, this is the day that he lost his mind and goes into the hospital completely normal. And goes with his wife and daughter, and he makes his way over to the surgery wing. Then he says bye, and everything.
They just go into when the surgery's
fine. Bright lights. IV. Yeah, let's see. Okay, they were in the prepping room for surgery, and they were also putting the IV into his arm, and then at some point the nurses lowered the oxygen mask onto his face. Yep. So the
anesthesiologist
that could administer the 2 drug cocktail that would knock him out for the surgery. Yep. Sherman was scheduled to get. Something known as general anesthesia for the operation, where basically he would be completely out and he wouldn't feel anything they do. The surgery. Then he would wake up in recovery, and once the mask was on his face, the anesthesiologist began pumping him of drugs that would knock him out.
Sleep. the shots. She put it into the IV.
However, yep, he only administered one of the two drugs. He administered the paralyzing drug, but he did not with the actual anesthetic.
Yep. The one that was the one that actually numbed him.
Yeah, it would knock him out and most importantly get rid of all of his pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so the mask that he used on his face, and so as this mask on his face, and Sherman believes he's been given the proper dose of drugs.
Started counting backwards from 10.
If in his head.
Yeah, can you imagine that, Linda, hearing that a while ago? Like I've only had surgery that I can recall, like surgery once, and if you even call it surgery, it was just me getting my tubes cut and tied, so that I couldn't have any more kids, which was minor, but that didn't go well. That went totally amok. That would be a whole story for another day. But I could not imagine knowing that you're getting ready to go into surgery and hearing these kind of stories. And here's what the scary thing about it, the catcher and arrive, the whole thing. At the end, they said, I believe they said there's like 20,000 cases of this type of thing happening per year. Like, that is enough to send shivers up and down your spine. So, but let's get started. Don't let's know what.
Hold on, I'm almost done.
Because we can cover this topic a little bit more. Well, there's really not much more to cover on it. We kind of told the whole story, but we've been watching these because we like inspiration and stuff that a lot of people might not know about. Normally, we like picking out some of those topics that not everybody and their brother covers. So on the note, while she's finishing up, we're scheming something. So
this is what it says. It says the anesthesiologist and the medical team realized they have a very big problem. This patient was experienced for 16 minutes of surgery and felt all of it at the end. And at the end of it, when he wakes up, he's going to remember it, and he's probably going to file a lawsuit against the hospital.
See?
And so a decision was made. Oh no! They said it's
unclear. That's what I said.
If the anesthesiologist acted alone or if the entire team was.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But regardless, the anesthesiologist administered a additional drug after giving all these painkillers, and
it was the amnesia drug. Yep. That's what I said. He said it was unclear if it was just the anesthesiologist himself acted alone, or if the doctor acted alone, or if the whole team combined. It was just unclear. But then they came up with give him this amnesia drug, and he'll forget about the whole thing. And it did work temporarily. But it didn't work like they had anticipated that it would work because end results.
On January 19th, he goes back to his house and he sits on the couch with his wife, and he is sitting there. Suddenly, these horrible feelings he's having, they become too much, and he basically has a panic attack and starts screaming out, and he is terrified of something that he doesn't know what it is. And then over the next couple of days, he began having the flashbacks where he would actually remember what happened in the 16 minutes. And then that's when he started going crazy. Well,
I'll get into it like real in depth, but when I had Gabriella, like, I don't want to get into too much right now, and it is kind of like a hard thing to talk about. But when I had her, I bled. Like, Tom had to go out for a few minutes because they didn't think that she was going to be coming yet. So they said, okay, you can go out for a few minutes and take a break. And lo and behold, when he went out, she was coming, and it looked like somebody got slaughtered in the delivery room. That's how bad it was. And I was bleeding so bad that as my heart beat, the blood squirted to each beat. But I'm like going to stop right there because that could be like a whole other story, and it's a real hard and tough one to tell. Um, that's why after she was born, because I wouldn't have mind trying for one more kid to see if I could give Tom a son, but he only wanted two girls. Anyhow, he made that perfectly clear when we both talked about having kids that he wanted two girls, one with blonde hair and blue eyes, and one with dark hair and brown eyes. And I said, okay, I'm going to give those to you. That's exactly what he got, which that's a whole other story. But that's when we decided, okay, I'm getting fixed because we can't take the chance of something happening. But we'll get into that. Gabriella got stories, so.
Two stories tonight. The first one is not very long because I actually could not find that much information on it.
Is this one of them that Cactus gave you or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
These are both ones that were actually from Mr. Ballin.
Oh.
So it's ironic that you brought them up today. But yeah, I was watching. Dylan got me hooked on watching this Mr. Ballin guy because when it's late at night and you have nothing to watch, why not put on spooky, scary, interesting mystery stories to fall asleep to? But most of the time, I don't fall asleep to them. I'm like, wow, what?
Yeah.
So I'm like more intrigued in the actual thing than actually falling asleep anymore. But I heard this one and I was like, I'm gonna have to do some research on that. And I did. And this is what I came up with. This one is called The Sauter Children Disappearance. On Christmas Eve, 1945, a fire destroyed the Fayetteville, West Virginia home of George and Jenny Sauter, but 5 of their 10 children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were never found. No remains, bones, or ashes were discovered in the rubble, prompting the family to suspect a kidnapping and arson rather than accidental fire. Key details and suspicious circumstances. The fire and warnings. The fire began around 1 a.m. earlier in the year. A life insurance salesman threatened George Sauter. He was an anti-fascist Italian immigrant, that his house would go up in smoke. A stranger also warned them about a fire due to the fuse box. The disappearance. The phone line was cut, not burned. A ladder was found hidden away, and the family's truck would not start. Missing remains. Fire officials claimed the fire was hot enough to incinerate the bodies completely, but no bone fragments were initially found. A 1949 search found a few bone shards, but a pathologist found they were likely introduced later. Strange sightings. A woman reported seeing the children in a passing car on the night of the fire.
Oh, snap.
The photograph. In 1968, the family received a letter from Kentucky with a picture of a young man, supposedly Louis Sauter, years after the disappearance.
Now, Louis is one of the kids.
Mm-hmm. George and Jenny believed their children were kidnapped and staged a cover-up. They erected a billboard to keep the case in the public eye despite investigations and later the family's search. The case remains unsolved and a mystery.
Now, were the parents looked into as suspects at any time?
No, but the dad should have been because apparently he took out a loan before the fire started. I didn't add that in there, but I do remember hearing that. He took out a loan, like a really large insurance or health.
What's it called? The
Sauter children.
Did you look on Chat GPT?
Yeah, this is what I got from Chat GPT, and AI. It's just going to tell you the same thing.
Okay, you can go on.
That's it. That's it for the first one.
Yeah, that doesn't really look like there is much on it, huh?
Yeah, there's not, because it's just it's an unsolved case. They have no clue what happened to children or who sent that photograph in Kentucky after claiming that the person on it was their son that went missing.
But yeah, it says they never rebuilt the house, but they did. They converted the site into a memorial garden to the kids. Um, they did point to a couple of those unusual circumstances before and during the fire. The blaze was electrical in origin, noting that he had recently had the house rewired and inspected. Yeah, that's it. Not much on there, huh?
Yeah, there's really nothing.
Nope.
But like I said, I think George took out a life insurance policy loan or something right before the house went up in flames. If I remember the story correctly, I'd have to go back in the video. So that's not like 100% confirmed, but the rest, everything that I just read is 100% confirmed, and the only information I could find on this case.
See, the family was asking questions about that because they said not long afterward, when they started getting things, the fire department said it was electrical, but they said, well, wait a minute, the family's Christmas lights remained on throughout the entire fire's early stages. And when the fire started, it would have caused the power to go out all around. So how come the Christmas lights stayed on? And then they said they later found a ladder that had been missing from the side of the house on the night of the fire along an embankment 75 feet away. The telephone repairman told the Sodders that the phone line had not been burnt through the fire.
Yeah, it was cut.
But was cut by someone, yet who had been willing to and able to climb 14 feet up the pole.
Yep, it's a very suspicious case. Like, it definitely sounds like they were broken into or it was planned. Somehow it was planned. They had 10 children.
Holy shit.
Yep. It was 10 children.
They were busy.
But only 5 of them went missing.
Wow.
Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty. That's half of their children. Would modern detective work have solved it? Maybe. I'm honestly not sure because there's a lot of I think that if it was modern, they'd try to figure out who sent the photograph and track them down and find out if that really was Louis Sodder by getting his fingerprints and everything. And probably ask the girl who called and said that she saw the children in a car when the fire happened, which was odd. Why would you say that? Right after a family lost their kids or whatever, you didn't actually see that. Or unless you weren't part of it. Odd.
They said too, the bone fragment that they found later, they said it seemed to appear like someone between the age of 14 to 17. And it was unlikely that it was probably one of the children because they said it showed no signs of being burnt in a fire.
Yeah, it says that that it was later introduced, like someone put it there.
Yeah. They said the fragments supposedly came from a cemetery near Mount Hope. That they think somebody went and got it from a grave and put it there.
Which, why would you do that unless you were trying to cover up something? Like, to me, it definitely sounds like a kidnapping, and that this was planned, and that it was
very
probably
suspicious.
In my research, it sounds like it was
against George, the father, for some of the comments that he was making.
Yeah, it was either the life insurance salesman, because he threatened George Sauter that his house would go up in smoke.
Yep.
Which, why would you say that?
Yeah.
And then a stranger warned them about a fire due to the
Well, they did catch a guy messing around with something outside of the house there on the night of the fire. One of the neighbors reported, but they took him in and questioned him, and they dismissed that he had any ties with the fire or anything. That they just got him for
the
that.
ladder had to have been what they used to climb in the house, cut the phone line, and everything,
yeah, whatever.
and then got rid of it. And it's kind of odd that there's a house fire, but your truck won't start.
No, modern detective work wouldn't have solved it. They need me and Gabriella on the case. We would have solved it for them.
Yeah, we're the best detectives.
Well, I figured out who got chewed on a candle and blamed it on their niece and nephew.
He was only small.
He was only small. I was only small. That's a whole other story, guys.
You know what? I don't even want to hear it, because Abby I got so mad of getting accused of everything, so I wrote Abby's initials on everything and was like, Abby, why'd you do that? She was like, I was like, yeah, why?
Those two were bad, I'm telling you. They were bad.
This freaking hair.
Big little foot stole them. You know what, Linda? That might be the answer. That I'm still curious about that one where they said it could have been a pig.
That was
it showed
ridiculous.
Big footprints, and they're saying it could have been a pig.
Yeah, get this. They found footprints. This is a completely different story. But it was in a cabin in the woods. A bunch of people were staying there or whatever. Then they started getting, or the girl, one of the females in the household started getting attacked by something outside, and they thought it was a bear. Well, the husband and the brother of the husband would go out and try to hunt down the bear, because they thought that it would come back, and if they didn't hunt it down, that it would hurt somebody. And so they found it, they shot it, they thought it was dead. It came back later with a vengeance up to their front porch and tried to break in. Well, the husband got underneath this thing, and it started clawing at him, and like it was going crazy on him. Well, he managed to slip underneath it and then run inside the door with the women and close the door, but the brother was still outside. So the brother was outside. They heard gunshot. He shot it, and he thought he killed it. No, it ran away on its hind legs. They said it was about 7 to 10 feet tall. And when they found the footprints of this thing, it had 3 toes. It was
big too.
And it was it was almost like a foot. It was like a human-shaped foot with only like 3 toes. How is that a pig?
Yeah, and then they tried to have an explanation. They said it could have been a boar, where they're like, since when does a wild boar stand up on its hind feet, and since when does it have like human-like foot, feet with 3 toes?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
that's not how pigs work.
Yeah, we got a lot of interesting stories on this. There was one about a a campsite, and that one freaked me out.
There was one about a red lamp.
Yep. That one about a red lamp.
Also in the same video, you'll find the anesthetic thing.
Okay, continue.
Okay. next story.
Is this the Mr. Bollins one too? Or no? Okay.
This next story is pretty long. I did find a lot of information on it, and even like the actual whole like story of it, because it was apparently well known because of the area that it was in and the sightings and everything that was happening during the time. So this one I call, well, I don't call, but they call the Dark Entry Forests.
Go ahead, Gabriella. You can talk.
And I put down the two most popular stories because there's tons of stories of this forest and what happens in it and the people and creatures and everything. But there's two that are the most prevalent, the most well known. So in 1901, at a time when the population of Dudleytown had dwindled away to almost nothing, one of the last residents of the town was a man named John Patrick Brophy. Tragedy visited swiftly, and in several blows. First, his wife died of consumption, which was not uncommon in those days, and there was nothing strange about her alignments, as she had been suffering with it for years. This did not lessen Brophy's grief, however, but he was soon further stricken when his two children vanished into the forest just a short time after the funeral. And while their disappearance could have been voluntary, they had been accused of stealing before. There is nothing to indicate that it was. They vanished and were never found. Shortly after, the Brophy's house burned to the ground in an unexplained fire, and not long after, Brophy himself vanished into the forest.
It's an eating forest.
That's the first one. The second one is the longest one. The second one is about a man named Dr. William Clark. Around 1900, Dr. William Clark came to Cornwall and fell in love with the forest and the quiet country life. Clark had been born in 1877 and grew up on a farm in Tenafly, New Jersey. He later became a professor of surgery and taught at Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons, as well as earning a reputation as the leading cancer specialist in New York. He purchased 1,000 acres of land in the wilds of Connecticut, which included Dudleytown, and began construction of a summer and vacation home there. Over the next number of years, he and his wife, Harriet Bank Clark, visited the house on weekends and during the summer until it was completed. After that, it had become mostly a holiday house for short trips in the summer and for Thanksgiving. Together, they maintained I never can say that word right. Idyllic?
Yeah.
Second life after Dudleytown until 1918. One summer weekend, Dr. Clark was called away to New York on an emergency work trip. His wife stayed behind, and according to the story, he returned 36 hours later, stepping off the train onto the platform looking for his wife, who promised to meet him there. But the platform was empty and the sun was setting. He began to walk into the forest alone. As he entered the trees, he felt immediately that something was off. The silence was heavier than usual. The sky turned a deep purple gray. Then he heard it. Owls, too many. Their hoots echoed from every direction, close and distant, like a warning. His heart raced, but he kept walking. As the trail curved, he saw the house dark and small between the trees. The front door was open just a crack, not wide enough for someone to walk out, just half open. His mind raced. If Harriet was inside, why wasn't the door locked? He called out her name a few times, but no answer. So he pushed the door open and walked inside. That's when he heard a loud, high-pitched laugh. It was sharp and unnatural. It was so loud he nearly fell backward. He stumbled onto the house, trying to find the source, but the sound bounced around the walls. It didn't sound human. He couldn't tell where it was coming from. Then he realized that the laugh was coming from upstairs. At the top of the stairs, he saw her, Harriet. She was sitting on the floor of the bedroom. Her mouth was open far too wide, stretched in a way no human mouth should open, as if invisible hands were pulling her jaw apart. Her eyes bulged like they were about to pop from her skull, and the laugh, the terrible, deafening laugh, was coming from her. It sounded like 1,000 voices crammed into one person, like something had opened a speaker inside her throat.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Oh my.
Dr. Clark couldn't move for a full minute. He just stood there, frozen in terror. Then he turned and ran and couldn't stop until he reached the local police station in the next village. They returned with him, found Harriet still laughing, still wide-eyed, and carried her down. She was admitted to a hospital that night, but she never got better. She stayed in the hospital for 12 years. Her mind was never the same. On some days, she sat in silence for hours. On others, she would scream and try to rip open the walls, saying, "They're coming through the trees."
Oh my goodness.
She told the nurses there were creatures in the woods and shadows that whispered her name at night. Some days, she would laugh until her throat bled. Finally, in 1920, Dr. Clark brought her home. 1 week later, she took her own life. She jumped from a window, and Dr. Clark never recovered. He stayed silent for the rest of his life, but in private, he said one thing to a colleague. She saw something in the trees, something real. I believe her.
It sounds like Demon Wind. Remember that movie, Demon Wind? Where it was the stuff out in the woods, the trees and out in the woods.
This one's crazy because they called this the cursed town. The town of Cornwall in Dudleytown, they call it the cursed forest because nobody would ever come out of there. And if they did, they would never be the same. It was almost like it was calling to you in the worst way possible. And then you would just vanish into nowhere. There would be no remains found. Nobody would come out.
I wonder how he managed to get through there to get to the house, because he said he did feel even an uneasiness and everything. There's our storm starting right now.
And then, like, during the whole process of the entire village being built, people were saying that there were creatures in the woods and that they would just stare and make these awful noises.
Now, do you know if the people that actually did go in the woods and get out that kind of were never the same? Do you know if every one of them ended up unaliving themselves?
They didn't. I know that I don't think that all of them unalived themselves, but I do think that they all went crazy. Like, they just, whatever was in that woods, not good. But not good.
Not good at all. No, that's not, that's like that, is it in Japan, that forest that they call I'm going to say, I guess they call it the suicide.
I would have said sewer slide.
Suicide. Forest. They said people go in there and they use that place.
Yeah, I think it's in Japan.
I think
like something lures them.
Yeah.
And they just.
Yeah. And isn't that the one that they said that they also used in the Wizard of Oz, that forest, or no? Am I wrong?
I don't think that's the same forest.
Okay.
I do think that I think that they said there was like a cursed forest that they did use in the Wizard of Oz, which is why.
Did you see my one wind chime? The one's gone. And the other one only has, I think, one or two chimes on it now. That's how bad it got out on the porch.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I got to get new ones now because
Are we still under a tornado?
yeah, let me check to see if it changed. We're in America for the one that she's talking about now, or which
Probably
one?
Dudleytown, because that was at 9:48, which was just a few minutes
Let
ago.
me see here. Yeah, the wind's picking up outside like crazy right now. It says
It's in Connecticut. It's located. Dudleytown is located within the Dark Entry Forest in Cornwall, Connecticut. It says it's abandoned 18th century settlement notorious for legends of family curse, hauntings, and strange premature deaths. It was founded in the 1740s by the Dudley family, who allegedly brought a curse from England. The hamlet was deserted by the early 1900s due to poor farming and alleged misfortune.
yeah, Cactus. We're under a tornado watch until 11 for our area, but like at the very, very beginning of this, normally our area, even most of the area in Pennsylvania, I don't even know if I think we might have had small twisters. It's supposed to be bad. We might have had we get more straight winds or microbursts or just really, really severe heavy thunderstorms. We normally, I think on occasion, like a tornado, a low, like F1 or whatever they call them, like something real, real, real low caliber, hit some areas around here. I think the worst one we had was in Kane, Pennsylvania, which is pretty far from us. This area in particular, it's probably highly unlikely that we would get a tornado. We might get some of the high winds, and we've already had winds here a few weeks back when we had the winter storm. That was like 40, 50 miles per hour. So that does a lot of damage. Like Chase's, if the garbage thing rolls down the road this morning tonight from the wind, we ain't running after it. He's going to have to go after it. So, because we told him to put it inside the house. It's not real common for us to get tornadoes here. And usually, like I said, they're not real bad tornadoes. They're like on the lower scale, and it's mainly just the winds off of it. Like right now, we can hear the rain is coming down real heavy. It's hitting the side of the house real hard, and we can hear the winds because what's left of my one last wind chime on the porch, you can hear. I don't even know. I don't hear it. I'll bet you any money.
I heard a little clink.
Because there's only like one or two more of the chimes on it. Like I got to get a new one, but if anything, our worst thing that will happen to us is the high winds and wind damage. That'll knock down power lines, and we are susceptible. We lose power a lot. A matter of fact,
I hope that wasn't their trash can.
I hope not either.
Do you hear that?
Hey, Eric, can you take a peek out the window and see if his garbage can went flying down the road?
Yeah, I can.
I'm not telling you to go out and get it because he was told to put it beside the house. Yeah, so we get things like that, the heavy winds, and we lose power. It's the very first year we moved up here. We did have high winds and lost power like a lot. Like, matter of fact, last week when we had our last thunderstorm, we were having power outages like every, probably in about an hour's time, we lost our power 3 or 4 times. So, thank you, Ronan. That's kind of more what we would get here rather than like a tornado itself. We would get the winds and the, power outages and stuff like that from trees and stuff being knocked down. So
yeah, we've never really had to worry about like an actual tornado coming at us full speed.
We are like in the state, right? Our area is a more mountainous area of the state, but I think where we're at, there's so many mountains and so many valleys that for it to travel up and down over the mountains and through the valleys and that, it just wouldn't be able to pick up enough steam to really do any damage. And that's why we mainly get like the winds and stuff and that from it. So anybody have any questions on any topics here tonight?
Well, I do have the rest of the Dudley Town thing.
Okay.
So here's the history of the family and the town, the Dudley family and the town. Origin. The town was settled in the 1740s by members of the Dudley family, including Gideon Barzillai and Abel.
Wow.
Who moved to Cornwall from Gulliford, Connecticut. The curse. Legend suggests the family descended from Edmund Dudley, an English nobleman beheaded for treason under Henry
the Seventh.
Henry VII, bringing a curse with them to America. Misfortunes. The area suffered from high rates of insanity, sewer slides, and mysterious deaths. Famous incidents include General Herman Swift's wife being killed by lightning in 1804, driving him to insanity, and the sewer slide of Mary Cheney, wife of writer Horace Greeley in 1872. Abandonment. By the early 1900s, the town was completely deserted, often really attributed to the poor farming conditions in the valley and the surrounding dark forest. Dark Entry Forest in modern day. Dark Entry Forest Incorporated in 1924, the land was purchased by a private corporation, Dark Entry Forest Incorporated, which was formed to manage the land, promote forestry, and prevent development. No trespassing. The site is heavily protected and private. Trespassing is illegal, and police actively patrol the area, which has fueled its reputation as a haunted or forbidden spot. The name, the Dark Entry Forest, refers to the dense forests and mountains that surround the hamlet, which block out much of the sunlight. So yeah.
Wow. Linda said, why live there? Live somewhere less terrifying. You would think, I mean, that's just it. Like, if you're living...
I don't think that people knew about, like, the story. I would think if you knew about the story and the curse, then that'd be pretty simple.
Yeah, but the people that's lived there and seen all these disappearances, and especially the ones that have kids have a natural curiosity.
It was a village. And they probably didn't have money to go anywhere else.
Could be, but you know, it's either try to find a way or have your kids end up going in the forest and they end up missing.
I guess as long as you stayed away from the forest, you were fine.
How far was the forest from the village itself?
It surrounded it,
so they can't escape.
It was
Get Google Maps and go and zoom in. Let's take a visit to Dark Forest on Google Maps. Whoa, did you see that lightning bolt?
There's been a lot of lightning bolts.
That one was like right there. Yeah, they said up until 11 that we're supposed to have this, and it is storming. Tom was supposed to have work tomorrow, and I told him, I said, if we get that storm that they're calling for, you ain't going to have work in the morning because the ground's going to be too saturated.
Oh, the Dudley town was, in the forest, so the forest was surrounding them. They had no choice but to stay there.
They did have a choice. It's just that they decided to stay there.
If you went anywhere else, especially in the forest, you're going crazy or sewer sliding.
Yay. There was not a forest, but where I grew up, the little town where I grew up, there was I call it a forest. Behind us, it was behind where they have the middle school now, the elementary and middle school. Well, now it's a high school included in with it. And then up on hill on the other side to where my ex in laws used to live. That section up there, that one section up there, and the one section way, way, way up behind where the middle school is, those two areas got really, really, really creepy. Matter of fact, the one area, when you went to the top of it, where like we go up where the monkey vines was, the grapevines was to swing on and everything. A little bit beyond that, there was where they found that flag. It looked like a Japanese flag. And then up by where I was telling you where Ord Sherry and them lived, up in that by where my ex-in-laws, where Eric's grandfather lives, up in the forest up there, there was like a little partial cabin up there, up in the woods, like as if a hobo or somebody built. Yeah, I was born and raised in PA. Matter of fact, the town that I was raised in, Tom and I are supposed to go down there sometime and check to see, so I could. The house that I grew up in has been ripped down since, but yeah, it's a small town, and we had to walk. It's ironic because they had buses that came to the couple streets below where we were at, but buses didn't come up to where we were, which was further away than those streets. And we had to walk to the high school. And we're talking, it was probably a good mile, maybe 2 miles from our house to the high school. And we had to walk. And that was even in the dead of winter during a blizzard because they didn't postpone or call off school at that time. It'd be snowing like crazy and you could barely see where you're walking, and school was still in session. And then sometimes there was a train going. So not only did we have to trample through the snow to get to school, but we had to stop and wait for the train to pass before we could continue to go to school.
I think my generation are the last people to know what it's like to actually have to go at school with like tornado warnings and snowstorms and everything, because kids these days have it so easy.
They tell you
a little bit of rain and they're like, oh, looks like little Johnny's.
If the weather forecast says it's going to snow the next day and it's calling for 3 to 5 inches, they'll already postpone or cancel school. And the next day may come and it might be a sunny day, but we might not have got it after all. They jump the gun that easily. And the funny thing about it is, like I said, when I was going to school, I remember times by the time we got to school from walking, we looked like the abominable snowman. We were covered head to foot.
That was like us. We didn't have to walk to school, but.
And we had a dress code at that time. Girls had to wear dresses. We were not allowed to wear pants to school. Right. And then finally, so what they ended up doing there for a while is we'd just wear pants and that underneath our dresses and go. And then finally, they did change the dress code that we were allowed to wear jeans and slacks and stuff like that. But when I first started the high school, they had a dress code that girls had to be in dresses and boys had to be in pants. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. But there was some times like, and it never failed to rain. And I hate it because, like I said, we had to walk to school every day, and never failed on the days that I decided to wear something all white. That's when Mother Nature said, okay, let's have a real heavy downpour today.
That is one of the reasons I will never wear white. I don't wear white. And if I do, I am bringing a jacket or coat or something with me, because every single time I go outside, it's like Mother Nature's like, oh, look, Gabriella decided to wear something white today, so let's just make it rain. Are you serious?
Yep, that's thunder. It's thundering pretty good out there right now.
There's a lot of lightning too.
I remember the one day, me and my cousin, we both wore white. Well, hers was really like, no, we didn't have uniforms, thank goodness, but we did have that dress code for a while. And they did measure if you wore a dress, you couldn't have your dress higher than 6 inches above your knee. It had to be at least 6 inches or longer. If it was higher than 6 inches, you were either sent home or you would told your parents to bring you a change of clothes.
And then it got ridiculous now at our age. Freaking You can't wear tights to school because boys start to look at your ass, apparently, and that's very distracting. So, good luck being a girl with curves.
I get food spills. It doesn't matter what I wear. I decide my tits need to eat every time I eat. I feed my breast every time I eat. It don't matter.
That is true.
I had
light
crackers.
colors, any light colored things, you're like, oh, I have a beautiful, nice little top on today, and then you eat like spaghetti or something, and it's all over.
And that day that I was talking about, we were walking home, was me and my cousin. She had not white on, but hers was like, oh, it was pale. It was like maybe tan or something. It was real light, and I had white, and it poured. And thank goodness I had a backpack, and I had backpack here, and then I had something behind me, and walking home, and that, like, obviously, like, you can only cover so much up with a book or a backpack, and oh my God, it's just crazy. Yeah, I was talking about feeding my boobs. Every time I eat, we had crackers the other day. We decided just for supper we were going to have meat and cheese and crackers and that. And I bet you I pulled, my clothes drink coffee daily too. I bet you I pulled a teaspoon or more of cracker crumbs out between my breasts.
It was funny because that happened to me the other day. I was eating chips or a cookie or something, and I started feeling something really weird in my bra. I was like, why does it feel like something is like hard in there? And then I reached my hand in and tried to figure out what it was, and I pushed it over a little bit, and it's just cookie crumbs that came flying out. I was like, oh, that's where that went. I knew I dropped it somewhere.
I had a big pile of Ritz crackers in mine the other day, and they're like, holy heck, I remember getting, because I remember going like this off of my shirt, but they're like, how in the heck did it that much get down in there? Like, holy, that's probably why Max.
Especially when you're not like wearing like a loose.
Yeah, it wasn't. Shirt. That's just it. Wasn't real loose.
That's what's weird. Yeah. Is it somehow like absorbs into your shirt?
And Max and Thea, they're tit hounds. They're tit hounds. It doesn't matter what you eat, what you drink, what you wear. For especially the girls, because Sia did bite your dad's tit one day. She bit his nipple. It was funny, but they'll come right up like, tits, and they're like licking it and like kind of nibbling a little bit. Where they're like, would you please quit freaking molesting me?
She freaking like sniffs every bit of you. I mean every bit. You just walk through the room and you got a freaking nose 10 feet in your asshole. I'm like, girl, I just woke up. I just got in here. Will you knock it off?
Yeah, my bra does. It's a calm catcher, and it's a good one too, because I'm like, whoa, that was a loud one. Yeah, that one was loud. Uh-oh. As I was saying earlier, I don't really want to jump the gun. Linda knows about it. I was telling her about it. Was that flashing lights out there?
Probably.
Okay, I think we're going to lose our power sometime tonight. You watch. Because there's so much ugliness and hate and just awful stuff going on in the paranormal community. I'm trying to look into a place, a big place. And I'm gonna talk with someone. I don't want to say too much because people, even when we were at
don't say anything right now.
I'm not going to go into detail because when we were at the jail, some of the ideas that we had, like ironically, are being used. But the thing that we're in the very, very early stages is if it works out right, it will hopefully bring the paranormal community all together, close together. And the motto or story of it, whatever you want to call it, will be to keep the friendliness and the unity in the community and not the division. That'll be the focus of this early stage thing. But me and Abby's talking about it right now. We're telling Gabriella about it. I am talking 'cause I haven't talked to this other person yet. I'm going to talk to her because I will have her help. But as it progresses, I think on Max, it's only thunder and Ab, you're okay. I think on one of the lives coming up here in the next week, me and Abby will discuss it and throw the idea out and see what kind of response we get, what kind of feedback we get. If we get really good, overwhelming feedback, then we are going to be 100% going forward with it, which I think Linda knows what it is. I did tell Linda. I think we will get really good feedback on it. So we will let you know as it goes. We need to write a mission statement. We should, really. We should. We can work on that. We're trying to work on, we have a song. Of course, you heard Gabriella's song. We have a song for the other side. We have a song for Real Talk, and we have a new song for Lurking Spirits. We're going to try to get them in on here for this.
I'll try to work on that tomorrow.
And Saturday, right now, Saturday, there is a topic that I may do. I may just scratch it and just go somewhere else. And I may write a story per request from Cactus. Since she was a sweetheart and said that she likes hearing our story or my stories and was wondering if I was going to tell anymore. So I might work on that. But we will let you know. But we are like at an hour and 11 minutes. It is, well, it calmed down now, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah, I think it was.
It calmed down. So it might have went and it calmed down. But
hopefully, I don't want to get blown away.
Go over that. So I thank you, Cactus. You guys have been, I always worry about that. And I think the reason why I get kind of is when I was talking about my book that I wrote that got published, my romance, I had a guy and he graduated with me and we was talking back and forth a little bit at one point because he's a writer and I'm a writer. And he says, I think we're the only two authors in school. He focused like on Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff like that. And I just focused on, at that time, like romance and kids stories. And he really liked my book a lot. And I had a lot of good response on it. Tom told me, he says, "Hun, that could even probably be made into a movie." Well, by the time the publisher got it, and it was a piss poor excuse of a publisher, they just made a mess out of it. I'm kind of embarrassed by the actual results that is out in print because it went from a 250 page down to, like I said, 90-page book. It's an embarrassment. But I really appreciate input like that from you guys, that you do enjoy what I write. I might write another one coming up too, like I did the very, very first one I wrote, where I incorporated like a lot of the paranormal groups around and include them in it and use their name as like a little phrase within the story that told the story by their paranormal name. I might do another one like that. But Linda gave me a pretty good idea for a story for Saturday, and I might use it, or I might touch base with it and kind of go a little bit astray with it. So we'll see. But that's Saturday, and that'll be on the other side. Now, unless we get some kind of a surprise last minute investigation kind of coming up, that'll be Saturday. So, but with that being said, if nobody has any questions, we're going to call it a night because we don't know if the storm will circle around and come back or not. And yeah, excuse me. But so, I know anybody have any questions or anything like that? Could you take a video showing us outside tonight? I would not take an electrical piece of equipment outside at all. Like, unless you want to see me light up and you want to see me in the obituaries tomorrow.
Linda is trying to get us in trouble. She's trying to take us to jail.
You know what, Linda? It's funny that you said that because I'm so bad. I am so rotten. Um, when you look out our kitchen window, that's the back part of their house. And there is there's their cellar door, the ones that kind of open up like this, that you walk down the steps. And then there's steps going up, and then there's like a level, and then there's a door up there. We'll take them up to the second level of the house. I've been eyeballing that cellar door up, and I looked at Abby today. You were with her too, weren't you, when I said that to Abby, or no? She was talking about the bird that she saw in the tree outside.
I thought no, because me and Abby were the one that both saw the bird outside.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She was talking about the bird outside. You guys saw that, you were there. Anyhow, they were talking about Abby saw a bird outside, and they started talking about the bird outside. And I said, by the way, you see that cellar door down there? I said, because Abby said she's been having dreams about that house. I said, I've been all eyeballing up that cellar door, and I'm wondering if it opens up, if we can go down it, if there's access to get up into the house, if nothing's locked, if we go in that cellar door. But they probably have that locked. I didn't even check, but that house needs us to get in there. That's all I can say.
I still don't have a good feeling about it. I feel like something is luring us over there, but not for a good reason.
Well, we'll find out.
We're not gonna find out, hopefully.
I'm gonna ask that guy this summer if he can contact the owner, see if we can go in. But with that being said, we did say good night. Cactus already said good night and thank you. Thank all of you guys for being True Blue supporters again. We're gonna try to keep on trying to get out to get the channels filled up. We're not one for fame and fortune, but it would be nice to see more people joining in, because we do have this friendly open forum where we just like one-on-one almost, that feel. So with that being said, and Gabriella gave some good topics, so tonight we're going to say good night, and we will see you then on Saturday on the other side. So stay tuned, folks,
and peace out.
Bye-byes. Love you guys.
Hopefully your thumbnail isn't going like
yeah.